Welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is Jay LaGuardia. Mr. Jay, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, Timmy. Thank you very much. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Mr. J. And I'm so glad to have you on my show. Thank you so much, Mr. J, for the opportunity. Firstly, you are an entrepreneur. You are also a health and mindset expert. Can you please, Mr. J, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. J?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur for about 35 years. I started in business after getting out of college, and I struggled significantly. My wife was my business partner. Um, Shortly after school, we bought a business, a seven-figure business, and as a healthcare provider, I didn't understand and know business. So we struggled significantly to the point where, we were at risk of losing it all, losing the business, going bankrupt, our marriage, everything was at risk. And I had to set aside my ego and reach out and ask for help. And I hired a coach, a mentor who was a lifesaver, saved our business, saved our marriage. And in life, there are those seminal moments where you have an opportunity to take it in an entirely different direction. And I remember having a introductory call with him. He said, "Tell me what's going on in your life and what you're in your business." And so I explained to him everything that was going on outside myself, with my employees, with processes, with my relation, everything. It was about 5 minutes. It was a very cathartic experience. And it felt good because I was able to get everything off my chest. And he said to me, in fact, he didn't say anything. It was completely blank. I thought perhaps maybe he hung up. I bored him and I said, "Are you still there?" And he goes, "Yes." He said, "I know exactly what's wrong." And I'm thinking to myself, fantastic. Someone's going to finally tell me what I need to do to turn my business around. And he said words to me that changed my life. He said, "Jay, your life and your business are waiting for a leader to show up, and it's not you." And that was the first moment in my life in which someone held me accountable for the actions, decisions, thoughts, and behaviors that I have made. And it was the first time I really had to look in the mirror and say to myself, everything that exists in my life is due to me. And I have to stop blaming others for the reason that things weren't going right. So that was the first step, taking responsibility and becoming self-aware. And then I started to study and learn this thing called leadership and mindset and personal growth, and of course, business. And like I said, everything since then, not that it's been always rosy, but it's given me the foundational and tools to understand what success looks like, how to achieve it, how to create it in my own headspace first, and then how to effectuate it into strategy, into all the businesses that I own, and coach other people how to do the same. That's what I'm passionate about doing.
That's the beauty of the life we are currently. Life is very tough, but definitely there is definitely a solution no matter the circumstances one fall into. And I'm very glad that seeking for help is one of the good strategy one can do when someone just feel like he or she is not in the position where he or she could help himself anymore. And I'm very glad that you get out of it and you are now doing fine now. Everything at least is developing in the way it should go, which is very beautiful. I would like to dive to your book if you've written, and I think you've written a book. Can you please discuss more on your book? And do you also have more book you're writing in the coming future, Mr. J?
Yeah, so I have an Amazon bestseller. It's called Change Your Mind, Change Your Destiny, The Eight Habits of Success. So I talk about these eight success habits that I had learned through a variety of mentors and coaches and teachers that I've applied and implemented into my life, which took, admittedly, a very angry, negative, um, not very positive individual in my teens and 20s. And as I started to apply these success habits, miraculously, what happens is my mindset began to change. And it's not just this theoretical thing, Timmy. It's literally science backed. It's what's called neuroplasticity. And what it means is, as you begin to change your thoughts, your brain begins to fire differently. And the more you change your thoughts, the more you implement different thoughts, your brain then begins to create new neural links, which literally changes how your brain functions. And so you can take somebody who's anger based and negative and angry and all these negatives and turn that around literally through the science of neuroplasticity. And these 8 habits allowed me to do so.
Hmm. It's going to be very, very interesting, honestly speaking. The strategies and the steps will definitely help one, even when it comes to leadership and also when it comes to managing hundreds or even some kind of people. It will definitely be important for them to check out. Thank you so much for the insight on the book, Mr. J. And firstly, I would like to dive to the point of culture. We do know that you and I that are speaking currently, we do have different background. We have different ways we've been brought up. So culture is one of the very, very powerful things that we have been brought up. And that is, I believe that is how the world is being programmed. We are all brought up in different cultures. And that is how it is. And that is how we find it. So in your own terms, how can you define culture, Mr. J, in both personal and also professional context, Mr. J?
Yeah, culture to me is the invisible script that shapes how we think, how we behave, and how we connect with others. And so for me, it's values. It's the language that you use. It's the tradition. It's the beliefs. It's even, let's say, in a work environment, it's how we dress. Um, and we absorb this literally, we start to get programmed culturally early on in our childhood, and then into our families, our upbringing, and then our community begins to shape kind of this cultural mindset. And like you said, there's different cultures as it relates to geographics, to upbringing, to nationalities, race, whatever it may be. But we are all part of a culture. We all are integrated into a culture. We're integrated to subset cultures and larger cultures as well, too. Professionally, it's the shared norms and expectations that guide how a team operates. So that's a very important note because it determines what we celebrate, it's how we handle the conflicts, and what we consider to be normal behavior. So whether it's at home or at the workplace, culture shapes literally the air we breathe, even if we're not aware of it. So you can think of it in terms of cultures like water we're swimming in. You don't notice it, it changes until it changes.
That is, honestly speaking, that is very beautiful. That means culture really defines some sign, kind of sign, probably belief, or the way we even personally behave in one way or the other. Culture really play a very big role in that area. That is why sometimes when someone is from another culture, and the person might be loud, you'll be like, this person is just this, that, it might be the way the person has been, trained and brought up. So sometimes when someone is with someone with different background and stuff like that, I think someone just needs to adjust in one way or the other. And definitely, there could be some way someone can try to begin to recognize this cultural programming that they've inherited from their people. So, how do you think someone can also recognize this unconscious cultural programming they've inherited, Mr. J?
We start by paying attention. It's self-awareness, right? We pay attention to our emotional reactions. So again, we're human beings, so we're emotional beings. Um, I can talk about emotional IQ, or we can talk about it at a later time, but what defines our ability to elevate our emotional IQ is our self-awareness, is to be able to be present in the environment and experience without necessarily feeling like you have to react, right? It's those moments of judgment when we're feeling frustrated or discomfort can reveal these unconscious beliefs. So you got to ask yourself, where did these come from? Right? How did I learn these? So, as you mentioned, which is one of the reasons why I love to travel, I love being exposed to different people, different cultures, and different perspectives because for me, it's an opportunity to learn, it's an opportunity to grow. Just because your culture is different than mine or mine's different than yours doesn't mean yours is better than mine or mine's better than yours. They're just different. And the exciting thing is to be able to integrate and to learn from each other because I'll learn perspectives from your culture that I think that are really, really cool. And maybe I want to adopt into my work setting or into my family setting. So as I mentioned, travel, books, right? Diversity in a sense of stepping outside your box and learning from other people, reading about other businesses and their successes and what makes them successful. These can help you see your own faults more clearly. Also, to seek feedback. As I mentioned to you when we first started my story, is I sought out a coach only because my wife said to me, if we don't get help, we're probably not going to be making it. So my value system is my marriage and kids are the most important. So if she's telling me we need to make a change, all right, I've got to give in and let go of ego and find someone who can help us. So the feedback from that coach was a game changer for us, as I had mentioned. So be willing to talk and speak to other people, observe, go learn, listen to podcasts, read books, go visit different organizations is one of the most powerful mirrors that we can have. And then a tool to help begin to put it all together is one of the tools I talk about in my book is journaling. Because when you journal, you can then organize your thoughts, create feedback from those experiences, and begin to then organize your thoughts and perhaps then make different decisions.
That is very, very powerful and very important, to be honest with you, Mr. J. Self awareness is just one of the baseline for someone to identify these patterns or these programming areas that one have inherited. And I'm so very much happy that you've even tried your best to travel to different countries and also learn from different culture. We just have to learn from ourselves. Like my own culture is just really energized. So everything like that is just really beautiful to just learn from each other and see how we could grow. I think that is how it is. And also learning from people, even seeking for help when things has gotten out of hand is very, very important. Thank you so much for those insights, Mr. J. And also, I would like to dive to the point whereby, what you could recommend in building a cultural sensitivity across diverse community. There might be some community that are really diverse when it comes to cultural background. So what strategies do you think you can recommend for building a cultural sensitivity and empathy, that's showing empathy, showing love and care within each other across diverse community, Mr. J?
I'm so glad that you asked that question. And I loved your response to just a moment ago. It starts by being non judgmental, right? Just because someone looks different, acts different, or does things different is not reason for judgment. It's a blessing to observe and to learn, right? So the key, Timmy, is to start with a mindset of curiosity. I think being curious is really important because when we're curious, we ask more questions and we assume less. So it helps us kind of set aside our own inherent belief systems. Listen with the desire to understand, not to respond. Engage with people whose experiences are vastly different from yours and look for common ground without erasing your own differences. So you don't have to give up your uniqueness, right, to fit in with someone else and vice versa. Look for the common ground because we're human beings, so we have three basic needs, right? Safety, love, and nourishment. So we're all going to have the need for those three things: to feel safe, to be loved, and to be able to be nourished mentally, physically, and spiritually. So we have common grounds right from the beginning. Also, create spaces for stories, right? Data or information can be influential in helping people come to decisions. However, stories connect emotionally. And I've taught this throughout all the businesses I've ever owned. And to people I coach, is that when you connect emotionally, right, you connect a much more deeper and meaningful relationship with a person than you do trying to convince them through data and statistics. Now, data and statistics are important, particularly in the sales environment, to verify what you're saying. But the most influential way is through connecting emotionally, letting people know that you care. So empathy grows when people feel safe to be fully seen and heard. So seek first to understand before being understood.
Hmm. Very powerful insights. I have to be honest with you, Mr. J. Someone just have to live a life that's just have this kind of love and care, because we shouldn't be in a position whereby we judge ourselves in one way or the other. That would definitely not show the kind of unity and the kind of care we need within each other, most especially if we're in a diverse community. I think having a life without not being judged, as you said earlier, and also having a life to just having just a way to just be cautious and just to be more of careful in decisions he or she needs to make when it comes to cultural identity. And as you said earlier, I love what you said. Beautiful. What you said was very beautiful, honestly speaking, because you said getting to know another culture doesn't mean we should leave our own. It's just for us to gain and grow. That does not mean we should not leave ourselves. We do not know who we work with. Even most especially, even business people, like I really respect you guys. You could be with someone with entire different culture, and definitely you will want to learn and also grow. But that does not mean one will definitely ignore or avoid each other culture. That should just make them grow and learn within each other. That is a very beautiful insight, Mr. J. And also, you said one beautiful thing which I want to dive into. You said they should try their best to maintain it, as I've said earlier, their cultural identity. Some people might be like, how can I even try my best to maintain this identity if I'm with this person? I might want to show everything that I'm just with them, stuff like that. So how do you think individuals can try to maintain their cultural identity while still integrating into new environments or global teams, Mr. J?
It's a really good question as well. I just want to take a step back and comment on your comment is that it's my opinion that so much of the conflict that exists within the world is a lack of cultural understanding. And so, therefore, to make ourselves right, we feel like we have to make the other wrong,
Yeah.
right? Rather than just understanding that there are unique differences. So, let's say culturally, you have a different religion than I do. Okay. Well, that's not a threat to me, right? Or if you have, different cultural beliefs about marriage or whatever. I mean, just insert in the blank. What is at the core of all the conflict, in my opinion, is the inability to step back, appreciate, and understand the cultural differences, and to respect the both, and then live coherently with each other, respecting those differences. That is what I talked before about a high level emotional intelligence. I don't need to make you wrong to make me feel right. I can respect with what you do and honor what you do with love. So, getting to your question, you said, how can individuals maintain their cultural identity while integrating to new environments or global teams? And this is exactly what I just said. Integration doesn't mean assimilation, right? It's possible to honor your roots while also adapting to newer environments. So it's about both and thinking, bringing your unique perspective while remaining open to others, just like you and I are doing here right now. So share your traditions, values, and insight. And let me stop for a second and talk about values, particularly in the professional environment. The key to any successful organization, including a family, is clearly defined core values. Your core values define who you are as a human being. Your core values is what differentiates each other. Now, we may have similar core values, but our priority of those values may differ. And they also can differ in seasons. My core values, the priorities of my core values are different now than they were when I was in my 30s and I had a young family. Now, family is still a very high core value of mine, but it's not my top because they're all grown, have their own families, right? Core values is what defines an organization. And an organization, particularly a successful organization, only hires and allows new people in their organization who resonate and who are similar in their core values. Tell you a quick story. You may be or may not be familiar. There was a great entrepreneur here in the United States called Tony Sheesh. And he started a company called Zappos, which was one of the first huge online retailers many years ago. Prior to starting Zappos, Tony started another company, and anything he touched, he was brilliant, turned into a $1 billion company within a few years. And quickly, what Tony realized was that organization, he lost control because he started to hire, or they started to hire people based on skill sets, not on common core values. So, after considering and speaking to experts, he found out it was much harder to try to change a large culture because they had a lot of employees. It was much easier for him to sell the company and start a new one, i.e., Zappos, and then instill these new core values and make sure everyone that they brought into this new company reflected the company's core values. So he had this document. It was called his Core Four: core mission, core purpose, core values, and core beliefs. So he said it's the most important document any organization could have because you need to reflect, review, and reinforce, if not every single day, every week, to your organization of who you are, what your mission, what your purpose is, what your values are, and what are the core beliefs of the company. And that is what makes a strong culture organization. And that is what makes the difference between an exceptional company and ones that struggle. And and so I would encourage, if you've got entrepreneurs who listen to this program, if your business is struggling, the first thing I would assess and review is what's your culture like. Because if your culture is neutral, your business is going to be neutral. Because a thriving culture leads to thriving success. A toxic culture is a culture that's in decay, and so will the business. And so often when people come to me and say, hey, I want to learn how to do X, Y, A, B, C, which is great, I can help them teach that or teach that to them. I want to know, what is the culture of your organization? And so once we determine that, if it's a strong culture, implementing strategy is easy. Success is inevitable. If it's a weak culture, we've got to deal with that first as we're working on the strategies. So I encourage sharing your culture in many, many ways, right? Doing so in storytelling, using your four core principles. And most organizations don't do that. If they even have a core mission or purpose statement, it's in a draw. No one sees it, right? If I was to walk into that business and ask 8 of their employees, 8 of them won't know it, or it'll be some rambling about, we do this, we do that kind of thing. So it's such a big, big component to success personally and professionally.
Mm. I want to sincerely thank you for the story you got us into and also the insight you've brought in this situation. Value is very important, and also understanding the type of culture one is trying to bring in to just build the during entrepreneurship, build the business or the areas is very also important. And I also love what you said when you said, if the culture is neutral, then definitely the business too is going to be neutral. So someone have to just try to check all those areas. They are very important. Those are the little things that a lot of people try to overlook, but they are very important. Values and also this cultural background are very important. That could definitely help even a business, even anything one is trying to build to go in a very long way. I want to sincerely thank you for that insight, Mr. J. Thank you so much for that. And lastly, Mr. J, there's a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From the forefathers, from the ancestors, there are a lot of things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing would be, Mr. J?
Well, the first word that comes into my head would be mutual respect. So if I respect you, right, um, I can't hate you. If I respect you, then I honor you, right? I give you grace, right? If I respect you, I love you as a fellow human being. And if we can do that, you're going to solve 90% of the world's problems. It's not that hard. It's just a want to and a level of civility that we've lost. And so we can easily recapture it, but it's got to be a global phenomenon. And shows like yours and the things that we're doing, I believe, are part of that process. And so I'm really grateful to be on here and be able to share that with you. And perhaps, it's going out to people all around the world. And so I'm excited to be able to share that. Just respect your fellow person, love on them, know that they struggle like you do, and give grace when grace is needed.
Definitely. I definitely have to thank you for that beautiful insight. Honestly speaking, if every single person can just respect each other in this life that way, I think this life is going to be more of likable and more of normalized. A lot of things, as you said there, that's why I like what you said earlier. A lot of issues that we're seeing is because we do not understand the background or the culture. A lot of things are happening due to probably lack of respect and also less understanding when it comes to background of the other person or the culture where that person came from. The way they understand it is the way the other is not the way the other one understand. That is why respect is very important. If I respect you and you respect me, then definitely things can work through. We will sit down, we will have the communication with the respect we have within each other, and things will go flat, things will get better, things will be improved, and every single person will win. And that is the benefit of respect, and that is one of the best things we definitely need in our time today. This time that we are is not easy. We have a lot of people. Which I do sometimes I used to look at how would next 10, 15, 25 years be. I have to be honest with you because it's really tough. I think technology has done a lot of good and a lot of other side too, but we definitely just hope it does more better in the coming future. Honestly speaking, we just hope for the best. I also want to use this opportunity to thank you for the time and the opportunity for showing this kind of love, respect, and also empathy to speak to me and the audience. It meant a lot to me. Thank you so much, Mr. J.
It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
All right, Mr. J. Have a wonderful day, sir. Bye bye.
Bye bye now.